Welcome in all you members of the Duval, Kyle Nash, Fans First Sports Network, Travis D. Holmes, Big Cat Country. Thanks for coming aboard. Listen, we're getting right into the thick of things because let's be honest, Travis, Liam Cohen has looked more like Liam Neeson in Taken. If you aren't in his skill set, he will find you and he will cut you. That's apparently the thing that's happening here with the Jacksonville Jaguars roster. Obviously, we've spoken at length here on the Duval Dive. If you haven't checked it out yet, get a hold of your life and do so. But we've talked about Christian Kirk going and now apparently being traded somehow. I don't know how that works. The trade that wasn't or the cut that was or however you want to put it. That's all crazy. We'll get to that in a minute. We have numerous cuts. We have Mitch Morse retiring, which you've already talked about here, also on the Duval Dive. So, Travis, I'm going to go quickly into Christian Kirk and why I think him going to the Texans. Listen, you're the card-carrying member of the Duval Devout, but I will tell you my reaction as far as watching Texans fans on Twitter. Anybody but those dudes, right? Like, what are we doing here?
I mean, I felt fine about it, honestly. Because you know how this process works.
Sure.
At the end of all of it, if they already originally reported that they were going to release him days before the start of the negotiations or the tampering period, then to turn around and later choose to trade him, obviously he would have had to agree to that. Not to say he has to, but he more than likely kind of already indicated to the team that he was that would have been the location that he would have been open to going to, another state without income taxes. Yeah, like that makes total sense, and that way he may even be able to earn an extension there because of how injury rattled their receiver core is. Between having Tank Dell having his ACL surgery and having Stephon Diggs his contract in because he was on the 1-year contract. So I mean, overall, it's a great landing spot for Kirk. He's going to get paid. My only downfall with this situation is the fact that I wish he would have went to free agency because he probably would have got more money and hurt their cap a little bit more. So that 7th round pick from Houston kind of helped them a little bit.
Hey, listen, if you stay petty, you can't get petty. I hear that response from you. But where I'm coming from is I wonder if he put in a phone call to Falaransu Fatukasi, who was supposed to be washed because he's injury prone, and it ends up making the key stop in at least one, if not both, Jacksonville Jaguar Texan games. It's not that I'm a Jaguar fan. I just hate seeing good dudes that I'm covering make it so I have to cover them again, doing stuff that stops me from doing cool things like covering NFL playoff games. That's all I'm saying, Travis.
The positive part about this for the Jaguars is at least you got to pick out of something that you were going to let him go for free. The Jaguars now save $10.5 million against in cap space per spot track, resulting in a $10.7 million dead cap. So the only difference between them trading him and releasing them is there would have been technically you could argue that there would have been a little bit over $2 million more in dead cap. But overall, it doesn't change anything materially. It's just they get a draft pick instead of getting nothing.
Speaking of changing things materially, Evan Engram on the chopping block amongst the people. I think he was released on Thursday. Actually, I saw it Thursday night while I was covering the Orlando Magic for Fans First Sports Network over at the Kia Center there. Losing to the Bulls when Zach Collins got fouled out with 10 minutes left in the anyway, sorry, Jaguar show. Let's get right to it. I didn't think personally that cutting Evan Engram was the move just because of chemistry and stuff, but there were plenty of football logistics that you walked through on the previous edition or a previous edition of the Duval Dive. But cap savings for Engram had to have been significant. I think it's like $5 million for him. And
just under 6. Basically $6 million.
So less than shocking, but I'll say this. At one point, Travis, I would have pounded the table hard along with you that first overall pick, if they pick 5th, should be defense. That's really impacted now, I would say, with all the movement we've seen. And we'll get to it, more receivers here on the list. But the movement with the offensive line, not that you're going to get a tight end first round, but that receivers are starting to open up. And, of course, Ronald Darby, and an expected casualty as well of the cut,
But let's not put the cart before the horse because we're jumping automatically into the draft season. like the free agency is not going to be kicking off in just 3 or 4 days. So that's before we even talk about what openings that we currently have for the draft. Well, we also have $60 million to spend as far as cap space is concerned, which is seventh
Excellent.
most in the NFL right now. So if you're just talking about bringing in scheme fits who maybe stopgap guys, or maybe they don't have to be the top guys that's available to still be someone who's maybe a better scheme fit and you to build your system in the ways that you wanted to see it. I don't feel comfortable saying, hey, this is where we might go into the first round of the NFL draft at pick number 5, because the openings we have right now aren't going to be the openings that we have eventually, like later. And
you would think,
yes. Yeah. And to your point, we've already talked about the football reasons why these cuts, why these trades, why these losses for the Jacksonville Jaguars roster might have happened on the previous episode of the Duval Dive. Actually, the previous 2 episodes, we talked about 4 different players, and every single one of these players were mentioned. That's currently been released. Well, now we're seeing it, and none of these cap savings are so significant that you're like, yeah, this was a cap move. Nah, people are framing it as a cap move because they're being respectful to the players, and I understand that. But no, this is football reasons. This is scheme fits. This is exactly what this is, and this is expected.
Well, I don't think there's a problem deeming something a scheme fit too, but just between Engram and Kirk, $15 million for 2 players isn't insignificant. Some of these others, I agree, is more about that. But let's not sneeze. When you're talking about 60 in cap open, that's 1/4 of it right there, because math. Right. But yeah, I'm with you here too. I don't think anybody's trying to protect Ronald Darby's feelings necessarily, or Devin Duvernay, of the players that were released. Darby's the only one defensively. Yeah, and I know somebody's going to mention Andre Cisco, but that's not a release. And still technically the Jags could still pursue him. We don't see it, but just as a note,
he's an unrestricted free agent, so they could sign him back. It seems like that's gone. That dream is out the window, and he's going to test free agency. But to your point,
by the way, we have no beef with players trying to get their bag. I mean, for all the fun we made of Calvin Ridley, we always thought it was good that he found his cash.
All right, but for Ronald Darby's sake, I mean, again, he was brought in to run Ryan Nielsen's press man match defense. Yeah. Well, we're not running that anymore. So that means if you're going to be it's no different than the Jaguars when they went from Mike Caldwell's heavy zone defense to Ryan Nielsen's heavy man defense. Well, you're going to need different types of players. They brought in Darby to run one defense, and now they're going right back to a primarily zone defense. It might be variable coverages, but it's mostly zone, 80% zone. That's what Green Bay ran. For the Packers in 2024, if you believe that is what they're going to continue doing, with Campanelli finally being the defensive coordinator instead of just the run game coordinator and the linebackers coach. So that would mean Darby was going to be on the outs. I actually have I still think that also Darnell Savage is going to eventually be out. It may not be right now in free agency, but I personally believe that eventually he is going to be traded. He is going to be released. That is just my personal opinion, because
I think
we talked about this on the previous Duval dive. Is the Campanelli's defense moved off of Darnell Savage in the year prior to him being in Green Bay. That's why, because it wasn't a scheme fit. So I would argue that it's probably not going to be a scheme fit this year. And that's going to be a move that the Jaguars will eventually probably make. So there's still some lingering questions on how many defensive backs they're going to need, on how many receivers they're going to need, on how many offensive linemen, and free agency that I predict they'd be heavy in those areas.
I mean, we have a short out there of us talking about you in particular, but us having the conversation about blowing up both the DB and wide receiver room. So, there's that.
Yeah.
Lastly, Devin Duvernay. A pettier man than I would say I told you so, but I don't know if it's necessarily about Tim Jones being a better special teams option per se, right? But yeah, I think this is just another scheme spot fit. Like I have said, not that I dislike watching him in preseason, but I'm on record saying I could take or leave Devin Duvernay, and kind of with Parker Washington as well.
A significant weight of Devin Duvernay's original signing was based on the fact that they were going to occasionally use him in the receiver room, but mostly it was the new kickoff rule and how he was going to be able to, that all pro punt and kick returner was going to be able to, show himself in those areas. Well, He ended up getting injured and spending 4 games in injured reserve, and he did solid as far as special teams were concerned. But in reality, it was the Jaguars weren't top of the league or anything along those lines as far as their return game. So it just became a question of how much were you going to decide to keep him on the roster only to do that kick return, because it wasn't a cap savings. They saved like $130,000. Like,
that's
we're not talking to millions. We're
Right.
saying this negligible. So it truly just came down to, was he going to be able to do special teams and contribute on the offense? If that's not the case, then you can get a rookie to kind of be a
it was the
core
roster
special team guy.
Yeah, to put it bluntly, it was capacity. No, I definitely
that's it.
And to be honest, he did not meet the expectations that he set when he wowed both of us in the preseason with that kick return. The first using the XFL rules, and I'm going to call them the XFL rules because I can. Anyway,
and Parker Washington did wow. That's another key.
Yeah, correct.
And he is on the roster.
And I'm not mad that he's still on it, by the way. Like, if you said to me Duvernay or Parker all day, I'm picking Parker Washington. Hell, he has his own Valentine out there on Twitter that just says, I'm Parker Washington. Okay. What more do you need?
Yeah. So in a single day, Jaguars trade Christian Kirk to Houston, release Evan Engram, Devin Duvernay, Josh Reynolds, Ronald Darby, and
Maybe
Mitch Morse retired.
We're seeing some conflicting stuff on that. It looks like he's gone, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mitch Morse retired, and then we still have a few more names that may be, out the door, or they may be here through free agency, and they might be gone before week 1. Like, we just have to, we'll see. But stay tuned to the Duval Dive. Stay tuned to BigCatCountry.com and Fans First Sports Network. We will have you covered on all the breaking news, man. Anything else you got to add? Anything you're working on?
Well, this is the kind of thing where I'd like to say it's a hell of a day at sea because those waters are choppy. But Travis, tell the people where you could be found. I know you said your outlets, but the socials, man, let the people follow you with your takes.
I mean, yeah, okay. BigCatCountry.com. Of course, we're trying to keep you guys covered at all times. We're going to have the free agency primer, free agency tracker coming up this weekend in preparation for Monday's legal tampering begins. Free agency starts.
Legal tampering. That term. Okay, I'm just going to say this.
Legal tampering.
It's up there with tush push. It's a quarterback sneak. It's the negotiate. There's no legal tampering. Anyways, it's like saying jumbo shrimp. What are we doing?
Legal tampering ain't nothing but white collar crimes. That's all it is. Nobody go to jail for that. Like,
so then it's just tampering.
It's just tampering. It's just tampering. That's it. That's all it is. No. So Monday's legal tampering begins, and then so we'll have that on Big Cat Country, the tracker, letting you know about any rumors, any murmurs that we're hearing about associations with the team. Also, we'll talk about the losses and important dates coming up.
Oh, and you got the roundtable coming up on Big Cat Country.
Oh no, we have the roundtable that is out. Yes, it dropped. Wow. It dropped this morning. So my apologies. You are correct. The roundtable where the staff at Big Cat Country all kind of give our predictions on what's the one player that hell or high water is going to land in Jacksonville. We don't know how it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Who's that one guy? Who are the people that our favorites, our personal favorites that should be targets for the Jacksonville Jaguars? And where do we think the Jaguars are going to allocate those resources in the early days of free agency? Those high impact free agents. We talk about a little bit of that and more. So actually just go to the site. Take a look. It's already out.
So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see if somebody had their Cooper Cup runneth over. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings at the Fans First Sports Network. You will see what I'm going to call my What Happened Was article for the Orlando Magic. I do have the article of Christian Kirk getting released, but that's old news right now. Apparently, I got some writing to do over the weekend here with all this stuff. You'll check all that out, Fans First Sports Network. And of course, the Night Shift podcast with the Black and Gold Banneret. A lot of quality work up there as the men's basketball season concludes as they head towards the tournament. Women's basketball concluded their tournament play. All of that. Make sure you check that out, blackandgoldbanneret.com, as well as the Night Shift podcast on the Black and Gold Banneret YouTube channel. That's a good time all the way around. So for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, I am Kyle Nash, student of the game, and until next time, everyone, class. Oh no, I passed it. Class Dismissed.